What if many of the world's governments didn't fall by accident, but by design? It's a question that haunts the corridors of power and rewrites the pages of history. From secret coups to full-scale invasions, the United States has repeatedly been accused of helping remove leaders across the globe. Some say it was to defend freedom and protect national interests. Others argue it was about securing economic dominance and geopolitical power. But the question remains, how many governments has the United States helped overthrow, and why? The story begins during the global struggle known as the Cold War, when the United States and the Soviet Union competed for influence around the world. This was an ideological battleground where capitalism faced off against communism. In this high-stakes environment, the term regime change entered the political lexicon. It refers to the replacement of one government with another, sometimes peacefully, but often through force, whether overt or covert. For American foreign policy, it became a tool to prevent the spread of Soviet influence, a strategy known as containment. In 1953, a turning point came in Iran. The democratically elected Prime Minister, Mohammad Mossadegh, had nationalized Iran's oil industry, which had long been controlled by the British-owned Anglo-Iranian Oil Company. This move challenged Western economic interests and, in the tense Cold War climate, was viewed by some in Washington as a potential opening for communist influence. Soon after, a covert operation organized by the Central Intelligence Agency and Britain's MI6, codenamed Operation Ajax, helped remove him during the 1953 Iranian coup d'etat. The operation involved propaganda, bribing officials, and organizing anti-government protests. Power was consolidated under the Shah, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, an authoritarian monarch friendly to the West. It was one of the first modern examples of covert regime change, setting a precedent for decades to come. Just 1 year later, another democratically elected government fell. In Guatemala, President Jacobo Arbenz introduced land reforms that threatened the vast holdings of the powerful American-owned United Fruit Company. The company launched a massive lobbying campaign in Washington, framing Arbenz's policies as a communist threat. In 1954, he was overthrown in the 1954 Guatemalan coup d'etat, a CIA-backed operation codenamed Operation PB Success. A military dictatorship followed, leading to decades of civil war and instability. The pattern was spreading, and the Cold War chessboard was expanding. In the newly independent Democratic Republic of the Congo, the charismatic nationalist leader Patrice Lumumba sought to control his country's vast mineral wealth. Fearing he might align with the Soviet Union, the US and Belgium covertly worked against him. Lumumba was removed from power and later killed during the Congo crisis. Soon after, Mobutu Sese Seko, a military dictator, rose to power with Western support, ruling for over 3 decades. In Brazil, a military coup in 1964 removed President João Goulart, whose land reforms and friendly stance toward communist countries alarmed Washington. The US government provided support for the coup plotters, ushering in 2 decades of military rule. And in 1973, the world watched as the socialist government of Chile collapsed in a storm of violence. President Salvador Allende, a democratically elected Marxist, died during the 1973 Chilean coup d'etat. The CIA had worked for years to undermine his government, and General Augusto Pinochet seized power, establishing a brutal dictatorship that lasted 17 years. Not every regime change happened in secret. As the Cold War waned, US interventions became more overt. In 1989, the US launched the United States invasion of Panama, codenamed Operation Just Cause. The target, dictator Manuel Noriega, a one-time CIA asset who had become embroiled in drug trafficking, and was increasingly seen as a threat to US interests, including control of the Panama Canal. Within days, Noriega was captured and flown to the United States to face trial. A decade later, the attacks of September 11, 2001, dramatically reshaped global politics and ushered in the War on Terror. In response, the US invaded Afghanistan in 2001, swiftly removing the government led by the Taliban, which had harbored the al-Qaeda leadership responsible for the attacks. Then in 2003, citing concerns over weapons of mass destruction, the US led a coalition in the 2003 invasion of Iraq, toppling the government of longtime Iraqi leader Saddam Hussein. In 2011, a wave of popular protests erupted across the Middle East and North Africa during the Arab Spring. In Libya, a popular uprising escalated into the First Libyan Civil War, as rebels fought to overthrow the longtime ruler Muammar Gaddafi. As Gaddafi's forces advanced on the rebel stronghold of Benghazi, a coalition led by NATO, including the US, launched airstrikes after authorization from the United Nations Security Council to protect civilians. The intervention tipped the balance of the war, and Gaddafi's government collapsed later that year. But Libya would descend into years of instability and civil war, a power vacuum that critics point to as a cautionary tale of intervention. Today, geopolitical tensions continue, and the methods of influence have evolved. In Iran, the government led by Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei remains one of Washington's biggest rivals, facing intense economic pressure through sanctions. Meanwhile, in Venezuela, the United States has recognized an opposition leader as the legitimate head of state and has used sanctions and diplomatic pressure to challenge the government of President Nicolas Maduro. Whether through crippling economic sanctions, strategic diplomacy, or covert support for opposition movements, the struggle for influence continues in a complex, interconnected world. Supporters argue these actions, past and present, have been necessary to defend democracy, protect human rights, and secure American interests in a dangerous world. Critics contend they have often destroyed democratic movements, violated national sovereignty, and created long-term instability that has fueled further conflict. But one thing is clear: from Iran to Chile, from Iraq to Libya, the history of modern geopolitics cannot be told without the long and complicated shadow of regime change. And the question that still echoes through the halls of power and across the globe today is this: who really decides the fate of nations?